You remember the beginning. Of course you do. It's almost impossible to forget the electric intensity, the feeling that the universe had finally conspired in your favor. It felt like, for the first time in your life, someone was speaking your native emotional language. They finished your sentences, liked the same obscure music, had the same frustrated dreams, and curiously, the same past wounds. You thought, finally, someone understands me. But what if I told you that this feeling of absolute understanding wasn't destiny? What if I told you that the butterflies you interpreted as overwhelming passion were actually your autonomic nervous system sounding an alarm that you were conditioned to ignore? There is a disturbing truth about the beginning of a relationship with a narcissist that is rarely discussed with the necessary depth. We tend to look at love bombing only as a seduction tool. We think it's a desperate attempt to win you over, but that's just the surface. The hidden truth is that the start of the relationship is not a courtship. It's a job interview. It's an audit. While you were living a fairy tale, the narcissistic person was conducting a series of secret and rigorous psychological tests. They weren't testing if you were compatible for love or if you would have a happy future. They were testing your usefulness, your tolerance for pain, and above all, how easy it would be to erase your identity and replace it with their fantasy. Today, we are going to decode the secret way these tests happen. We're going to move past the superficiality of red flags and delve into the reverse engineering of the predatory mind. You will understand exactly how you were tested, approved, and hired for the role of victim without even realizing you were being evaluated. My name is Lauren Mitchell. My purpose with this channel is to show you that the problem was never you, and more importantly, that you are not alone. If what you experience still hurts, still confuses, still weighs on you, you deserve a guide that truly supports you. My ebook was created to be a hug in the form of an answer, comprehensive, sensitive, and liberating. There is nothing as clear and as human about the narcissistic partner as this. You don't have to go through this alone. Access my ebook and learn about the benefits for channel members through the link in the description of this video. To understand how this test works, we first need to revisit the setting where it occurs. You probably recall how he was an extraordinary listener. He wanted to know everything about you, your childhood stories, your deepest fears, your past relationships that went wrong. At the time, this seemed like a demonstration of genuine and profound interest. Most men, you may have thought, don't want to know the details, but he did. He would ask, "How did you feel when your ex did that?" Or, "What hurts you the most about people?" Here is the first layer of decoding. This wasn't empathy. This was data collection. The narcissist operates like a chameleon, but a chameleon needs to see the color of the environment to know what color to imitate. In the beginning, they don't have a solid personality of their own to offer. They are a hungry vacuum for supply. So they use you as the mold. They project back to you an idealized image of yourself. If you say you value honesty above all else because you were cheated on, he immediately becomes the most honest man in the world and tells a story, often invented, about how lies destroyed his life. If you say you love nature, suddenly he is a hiking enthusiast. You felt like you found your soulmate because you were, essentially, dating a mirror. But while this mirror reflected what you wanted to see, the eyes behind the mirror were observing something else. They were looking for cracks in your armor. They were assessing your level of neediness, your need for external validation, and, crucially, how willing you were to ignore your own intuition in the name of the fantasy. This stage, set with perfect lights and promises of the future, is where the real tests, the boundary tests, begin to be administered. And they are so subtle that, most of the time, the victim only realizes years later, when it's already too late. The first major pillar of this secret mechanism is what we will call the boundary audit through micro-transgressions. The narcissist knows, instinctively, that they can't abuse you on the first date. If they openly insulted or belittled you in the first week, you, an intelligent and independent woman, would turn around and walk away. The predator knows they need to cook the frog in cool water before bringing it to a boil. So, how do they test whether you will be a good long-term source of supply? They test your ability to rationalize disrespect. The test begins with tiny, almost imperceptible things. Perhaps they are 15 or 20 minutes late for a date, for no real reason, and don't offer a sincere apology. They observe, do you get annoyed and set a boundary? Or do you smile, say it's okay, and feel relieved just that they showed up? If you say it's okay, you've just passed the first phase of the test. You've signaled that their time is more valuable than yours. Another classic example is disrespect disguised as a joke. In the middle of a romantic dinner, they make a subtly sarcastic comment about your outfit, your job, or something you like. Something like, "Wow, you talk about that a lot, huh? That's funny." If you frown, they immediately back off and say, "Hey, relax, I was just kidding. You're so sensitive." Here is the real test. They are not testing your sense of humor. They are testing your insecurity. If you accept the label of sensitive and swallow your discomfort so as not to ruin the perfect night, you've given them valuable information. She prefers to doubt her own perception than to enter into conflict with me. These micro-transgressions serve to measure the elasticity of your boundaries. Each time you let a small thing slide, they advance an inch into the invasion of your psychological territory. It's slow erosion. They are training you to accept the unacceptable, but in homeopathic doses. While testing your external boundaries, the narcissist simultaneously executes the second pillar of the secret test, the collection of ammunition through induced vulnerability. Many victims report that the relationship moved very fast. Within 2 weeks, we were already planning to move in together. Or, in a month, he already knew my darkest secrets. This doesn't happen by chance. The narcissist forces premature intimacy to hack your trust. The most common tactic here is the victim story. They will tell you, very early on, a tragic story about their past, a crazy ex who destroyed them, an abusive childhood, a terrible betrayal. They cry, they show themselves to be fragile. What does this provoke in you? Your caretaker instinct, your empathy. You think, poor man, he suffered so much. I will be the person who heals him. I will be different from the others. By opening up in this way, often with lies or half-truths, they create a social obligation of reciprocity. If they showed their soul, you feel compelled to show yours. And that's when you hand over the treasure map to your own destruction. You talk about your absent father. You talk about your body insecurity. You talk about how you are afraid of being abandoned. In this moment, they are not comforting you. They are filing. They are cataloging your fears. Fear of abandonment? Great, the narcissistic psyche thinks. I can use the silent treatment against her when I need to control her. Body insecurity? Perfect. I can look at other women on the street to destabilize her. This test verifies whether you are a person who easily hands over your intimacy under the promise of connection. If you do, you become a perfect candidate because they now hold the keys to emotionally destabilize you whenever they wish. They know exactly where it hurts because you pointed out the location of the wound and said, "Here." Now we come to the most critical test, the one that usually seals the fate of the relationship, the test of reactivity and reverse blame. This usually happens when the honeymoon phase is at its peak, but is starting to show the first cracks. The narcissist will purposefully manufacture a situation of conflict or frustration to see how you react. It could be a last-minute cancellation of plans, blatant flirting with another person in front of you, or disappearing for 24 hours without any word. The goal, Dory, is to provoke a negative reaction in you. They want you to get upset. They want you to complain. They want you to cry or yell. Why? Because they want to see if they can get you to apologize for reacting to their abuse. Let's visualize the scene. They disappear all day. You become worried, then angry. When they reappear, you question, "Where were you?" "I was worried." In a healthy relationship, the partner would apologize and explain. The narcissist, however, flips the script. "Wow, I didn't realize I was in a prison. I had a horrible day. My phone died. And the first thing I hear is you, giving me grief. You're obsessive. I can't handle this pressure." They play the victim of your reaction. They ignore their action, disappearing, and focus on your reaction, the complaint. The test is, will you stand your ground and say, "This isn't about pressure, it's about respect"? Or will you panic at the possibility of losing them, back down and say, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pressure you, I was just worried"? If you apologize, the test is over. You have passed with flying colors for the role of primary victim. In that moment, you signed an invisible psychological contract that says, "I take responsibility for your actions. I accept that my reality is less important than your comfort. I will diminish myself, so you don't leave." It's the final validation they needed. They now know that they can do anything. because all they have to do is show anger or disappointment, and you rush to fix what they broke. Looking back and realizing that the love of your life was actually a series of cold, calculated tests is painful. It generates a feeling of betrayal, not only by the other person, but by yourself. You might be thinking, how could I have been so blind? How did I fall for this? But here is the turning point you need to free yourself from that guilt. You didn't fail these tests because you are silly, weak, or needy. You passed these tests because you are human, empathetic, and you trust in the goodness of others. These are qualities, not flaws. The narcissist exploited the best in you, your capacity to forgive, to care, to trust, and used it against you. The narcissist testing system is specifically designed to capture people with a high capacity for empathy and resilience. They don't want weak victims. They want victims strong enough to withstand the abuse and continue trying to fix the relationship. Understanding that this was a selection process gives you the power to revoke the contract. Now that you see the mechanism, you realize that the initial chemistry wasn't magic, it was manipulation. The next time someone tries to speed up intimacy, test your boundaries with jokes, or try to make you feel guilty for having feelings, you will no longer see it as complexity or intensity. You will see it as what it really is, a giant red flag signaling an audit in progress. And the only way to win this test is not by trying to pass it. It's by refusing to take the exam. It's by grabbing your emotional baggage, your valuable empathy, and your life, and leaving the room before the interview is even over. Feel free to leave your account, your vent, or even a suggestion for a topic for the next video in the comments below. Access the link in the description to find out about my ebook and the benefits for members of this channel. Click the suggested video on the screen to continue with me, and remember, you are light. Never forget to shine.